united!
Hey y'all, and Zaba's here, and welcome to the first, and maybe only, devlog for PTU. We have a lot to discuss about what we're working on, and we have a very big announcement included for all of you, so let's get started with the show. Now, if you're in the Discord, or if you saw the community post, you'd know we announced we effectively went on break around half a year or so ago, and things have been very silent since then, up until recently. Now, in regards to that, I am happy to announce that development has gone back into full swing from the break around 2 months ago. I'd also like to inform those of you that are not in our Discord that with the new year came the introduction of me as the new owner of PTU, with Stella, previously known as T-Biscuit or simply Biscuit, stepping down from the position. You can read more about it on our Discord at this link, as I'd like to not waste too much time here at the start of the video and get straight into our big announcement first and foremost. Now, before I start worrying about what said announcement may be, I'd like to say that most characters and levels have not been scrapped as of the moment of recording this. The only exceptions to this being Doors and Other Tower. Sort of, but we'll be getting to that later in the video.
So, what's the big announcement? Well, over the course of the break, we'd finally been given breathing room to rethink the trajectory of where we want PTU to head in the future and how we want to handle development going forward. So, with that, we've created an entirely new plan for releasing content with a new roadmap is slowly being developed. And with the new plan comes some extra changes such as a new name for the old PTU versions, as well as different version numbers for PTU going forward. Now that's a lot of ground to cover, so let's start with what's most familiar, the old PTU versions. All old versions, as in all versions of PTU currently released to the public, will now be distinctly titled as Pizzagal United Legacy going forward. That refers to PTU 0.6.3 and all versions before it. In relation to this, we'll also be uploading a new Game Banana work in progress page and a Game Banana mod page for the new PTU versions going forward, with the old one being restored to its former state before we updated it, except with the title of the page being PTU Legacy. You can visit the new work in progress page at this link, as it should now be public as this video is coming out. It'll mainly be used to inform you all about the specific progress on each update as they're being worked on. The mod page, meanwhile, coming out once we release 1.0, will mainly be used for hosting each new release of PTU. Oh yeah, you might have noticed me say 1.0 and not 0.7, right? Well, to go in line with the rebranding of all PTU versions into PTU Legacy, 0.7 will be changing its version number to 1.0. We've made this change because we believe that using version numbers below 1.0 doesn't accurately reflect what we want to do with PTU, as the 0 being the first number of the mod version indicates that the mod is in some type of incomplete pre-release version. However, we don't intend for that to be the case with the newer PTU versions. Instead, we want to indicate that each new version will simply act as an update in its own right, that each version is an expansion of PTU's pre-existing content before setup. We believe these small simple changes will be beneficial for both us developers and all players in getting information across, which is especially important with what we'd like to talk about next.
So it's time to discuss the most important part of our new plan, where we'll be starting from scratch with releasing content. What exactly does that mean? Well, for those of you who were around PTU's early days, you may remember the old team releasing frequent content updates which changed its online in different ways, or added new features such as characters, levels, and modifiers. We have decided that it would be best to take updates in that direction by starting from square one with releasing content. That means that the first release of this new version of PTU will follow in the footsteps of some of the older versions of PTU Legacy. The mod will simply be a vanilla PT experience with some cool online features, some of our game modes, and a few quality of life tweaks here and there. And then, as we finish completing content such as Pepperman, Gazelle, Stronghold, modifiers, and everything else, then we will start re-releasing that content within new updates. Now that doesn't necessarily mean you won't be able to access a lot of the content within 1.0's release. It just might mean that it will be locked behind some secret setting or something. Since the content in question would still be heavily work in progress and might have unintended non-finalized behavior with lots of functionality missing. This will be the case because we want people to focus on the completed and polished parts of the mod before diving into any of the work in progress content that we're creating for the future. So, what's the point in doing this? Well, it's safe to say PTU has sort of been in development hell over the past 2 years of working on 0.7. We've constantly had changing plans and direction, remaking the content that we already thought we had finalized, and an overall lack of focus with what we exactly want to work on. Not to mention the fact that we have not been able to release a proper build out to the public within this whole time period. And it's safe to say that we wouldn't have been releasing anything anytime soon if we had continued with our original update plan. All these reasons and several more we haven't mentioned are why we decided to go with this new plan for releasing content in smaller chunks. Well, with all that in mind, what have we been working on all this time? As you may have seen if you kept up with the teasers on Discord, PTU 0.7 has changed a lot during its development, and so we'd like to discuss two major pieces of scrapped and shelved content that you most likely won't see make it back into PTU for a while. So let's jump right into it, right after this quick segment.
Firstly, what was about that thing we mentioned earlier in the intro about Doys? What's with the whole him being scrapped but only kinda thing? Well, early in 0.7's development, we came up with the concept of a playable Doys almost on the whim. The decision to add him was very on impulse, and we didn't give much thought to it outside of it'd be cool. But then half a year or so later, we realized that we really should not be working on a new character when we already have 8 to focus on. So we decided it'd be best to scrap him. Or at least as a unique character option separate from Noise. Because you see, Noise had a lot of songs made for him, and we didn't just want to scrap all of them, especially how much effort was put into them, and how quality some of them were. So we ended up deciding to relegate the songs to when you wear the Noise's Doys palette. Therefore, we could keep all the songs in game with mostly their original goal in mind, while still being able to cut off all the effort that would go into spriting and coding with the Doys. There will also be a few extra details when playing as a Doys palette, such as occasional sprite swaps, unique sound effect here and there, as well as unique title card stickers. But don't expect anything major to come out of playing him. Though, since almost everything that is a part of Doys' experience has already been made, all of that content will immediately be available to access by anyone once 1.0 releases, unlike the other characters which will require the content toggle in order to play as. Secondly, we'd like to announce that Other Tower is indefinitely shelved from being a part of PTU. We'll most likely bring it back in the future, especially when the Game Maker port of Other Tower releases. But as of the moment, Other Tower will not be within the next few versions of PTU that are going to be released.
This decision was made due to our team's general disinterest in attempting to port content from Other Tower into PTU, as well as a lack of consistent communication between both of our development teams.
Now, there's a lot of minor things to talk about, but too much for this video alone. So we'll be saving that for the extra scrap content for another possible video down the road. And now, with that out of the way, we'd like to get to our main dish of the video, and talk about what will most likely make it to the final cut of the mod.
Let's start off with the most fundamental part of the mod, the online. It will be the main focus of 1.0 alongside the game modes. It's currently going under a major visual overhaul within PTU alongside a large amount of general optimizations. We've added functionality for emotes a while ago, and have recently added chat bubbles to spruce up all of your messages. We've also made a new, custom font with a bunch of new symbols to add more character into your messages and usernames. Some more things we'll be adding soon in 1.0 are support for lowercase letters in usernames and messages, developer icons that would show under people's usernames, special markup-like functionality with effects and colors to make your messages more fancy, and much more. We're also working on making online easier to use. We'd like to move most player data to being changed in-game instead of through the Discord, including everything to do with creating and managing parties. We would also really like to change how registering works, but it will most likely remain as is due to safety concerns with how it would be much harder to ban specific players from chatting or being in online. However, we might give unregistered users the ability to send pre-made messages, similar to other online games such as Club Penguin and Toontown, so stay tuned for that. Game modes will also be turned into a toggle within each of the floors, with PewDiePie replacing the Pizza Granny sign. By interacting with her, you'll get to choose between what game mode you'd like to play. PewDiePie will also display all the major stats for levels, specific to the game mode currently toggled. This is as she is, after all, acting as a replacement for the Pizza Granny sign. Oh yeah, and on the topic of game modes, we'd like to talk about all the major changes coming to them and talk about some new ones we've conceptualized that will likely come to fruition within 1.0 or later versions.
The racing game mode within PTO will generally stay the same mechanically, as there's not much to change about it already. However, it will get a major visual overhaul that'll include new useful info, such as indicators for your current place in the race, a level timer below your score which always shows regardless of if you have the speedrun timer option toggled or not, and a list of all the requirements you'll need to finish the race. This is in contrast to the Pizzagal Gamemode, which is having its name changed and not only getting major visual changes, but also major mechanical changes. The new goal for the mode will be to last as long as possible, doing as many laps of the game mode as you can before being caught. This is being done to differentiate it more from simply doing racing with some type of chaser style lapping turned on, and instead turn it into a survival challenge for players. Pizzagal has now also been given slightly different behavior, now using slingshot-like movement with a hard speed cap instead of Pizzaface's movement style. Pizzagal pairing is also planned to be generally improved upon, with each parry having you steal ingredients from Pizzagal, slowly enraging her and making her faster and faster as a result.
Moving on to the second foe of this game mode, and a description of just how far he's come, Lowface has gotten a major overhaul, with his overall tone and design having been changed majorly by yours truly. Quite a while after the release of the original Lowface update, 0.6.2, I'd realized just how very overly cheesy his whole shtick was, as I'm sure many of you also did. So I went back to the drawing board and gave him a more goofy look and cartoonishly angry sore loser personality, which greatly benefited both him and his game mode. Moving on to just that, he's been given a completely unique spawn requirement, which now requires you to kill a certain number of enemies with a minimum number specific to each level in order to spawn him up, instead of the bland old 5-lap requirement there used to be in previous versions. As for his movement and attacks, he's being changed to have original attacks and movement styles that'll change in cycles. But the specifics of what his attacks and movement styles will be, you'll have to find out for yourself when the update releases. Unless we release a cheeky teaser here or there. Now, as we mentioned before, we also have a few new game mode ideas for online. There's specifically two we'd like to touch upon in this video that have made it into the development phase, those of which being Tag and Prop Hunt. So we'll discuss them right after this break.
So let's talk about these game modes, starting with Tag. Now, as the name implies, it will play just like the real version of Tag. Runners will have 10 seconds at the start of the game to get as far away from the tagger as possible, then the tagger will have to catch up to the runners before the time limit within the game mode runs out. Infinite lapping within this game mode will be toggled on by default, and the gate will be closed, as the win condition in this game mode is surviving until the time runs out for the runners, and catching all the people for the taggers. Tagging in this case will count as any collision between the runners and the taggers. However, runners will be given 3 lives by default, of which will be able to be changed in the party settings when the game mode is enabled. Prop Hunt, meanwhile, will be decently more complicated and contain a slight twist from the standard Prop Hunt formula. In Prop Hunt, the entire level will become free range to explore and hide within. Hiders will be given a 1-minute time period to find their spots before the Seekers are released. The props within this game mode will count as any destroyables, collectibles, or any enemies, and both the Hiders and Seekers will be given abilities to either avoid getting caught or catch a Hider. The specifics of these abilities will not strictly be mentioned yet, as they're still very much in the concept phase, and they may change drastically from the ideas we already have now. The win condition for the Hiders in this game mode, similarly to the Tag game mode, will be to survive a certain time limit. Meanwhile, the win condition for the Seekers in this game mode will be to catch all the props in the map before the time runs out. And with that, Most of the general discussing of 1.0's content is out of the way, so for the final part of this video, we'd like to talk about what we currently have in mind for 1.1 and 1.2, then lightly touch on future versions beyond that.
1.1 will be focused on remaking a bunch of modifiers and how they work. Exactly what modifiers we'll keep is a touchy subject, as we've been working through most of it for 0.7's development for a while, and we haven't been too sure ourselves, especially with how cross-reliant some are. However, something we would like to mention is how all modifiers in general are being turned into unique variable hats for the player. Each of these hats have a unique sprite given to them, with some we may even give different types of unique effects in-game, but you'll have to wait and see that for yourselves. 1.2 meanwhile will be mostly focused on creating quests to earn those hats through gameplay. There will be a selection of different types of quests, and you'll be able to track all of them down through some type of quest board located in each of the floors. A good majority of the quests will most likely be given by different kinds of NPCs throughout the different levels and parts of the hub. These quests will be able to unlock certain side paths and levels for you to explore in order to finish those quests. However, it's important to note that most of these side paths will be generally unintrusive to standard gameplay, and are simply a fun optional route for you to take when not actively doing any quests. Finally, for 1.3 and above, we will most likely be switching focus on individual characters and groups of levels for each update. We don't have much of an idea on what 1.3 and 1.4 or any versions exactly will be focused on yet, but we will figure it out as we go. Who knows, maybe we might end throwing in more of a curveball with the updates and do more unique stuff like what we're doing with 1.0 and 1.2, but only time will tell.
Well, that's all we have for this development update. We hope you're all happy and excited with the new changes coming to our roadmap for PTU's future, just like we are. We have no idea if we'll do another video like this soon or not, as the script for this video alone took a long time to finish. But, nonetheless, make sure to look out for future teasers and updates on the status of our mod. Our Discord is always open at this link, so make sure to go check it out to hang out with us and the community. We often do development and gameplay streams now, so make sure not to miss them. Well, that's all we have to say. See y'all later, and make sure to have a good day and or night. Came the introduction of me as the new owner of PTU, with Stella previous. We have a lot to discuss about. I'd like to say that most characters on what? You know we announced we effectively went on break around happy. You know we announced we effectively went on break around half.
With the new plan, we can all old versions, as in all legacy versions. God damn it! We've made this change because we believe that using version numbers below 1.0 doesn't accurately reflect what we want to do with PTU.
We have decided that it would be best to take updates in that direction by starting from square one and We have decided that it would be best to take I can't speak. Or add in new features such as new characters, levels, and modifiers. And then as we finish completing content such as Pepperman, Pizzelle, And then as we finish completing content such as Pepperman, Pizzelle, Huggy Wuggy.
Firstly, what was that? Fuck. The decision to add him was The decision to add him was very impulse, or at least as a unique character. Fuck. Especially with how much effort was put into them. Now high quality. Hawk to a hawk. So we ended up deciding to relegate the songs to the Now, there's a lot of minor talk.
Let's start off with the most fundamental part of the online. Let's start off with the most fundamental part of. Oh, I sound like the Wii Fit trader. It's currently going. We'd like to talk about all the major changes.
The racing game mode within PT will generally stay the same mechanically, as there's not much. They'll include new useful info such as indicators for your current race. The noise is white, which will always show regardless of.
with his overall tone and design having been changed majorly by
Hello, PTU, it's I, Lord Freezer.
as the win condition in this game mode is surviving until the time runs out for the runners, and catching up. That's the wrong word. Prop Punch, meanwhile, will be a decently. Runners will have a 1 million. Oh my goodness. Runners will have a 1 million. How did I mess up twice? Runners will have a 1 minute time period. I forgot my line.
1.2, meanwhile, will be focused on main.
I'm revving on the sea on my dick is stuck in a vending machine.
There will be a selection of types. God. Oh! Will likely be given out by different kinds of NPCs throughout the. However, God damn, it's a fucking force take! We don't have much right now.
So make sure to go check it out to hang out with us and the community. You have to do.
United